Please remember, as we move forward in this discussion, which we have a lot of exciting stuff we're going to talk about, to put any comments in the chat. If you have any questions, comments, etc., we'd love to interact with you guys. So thanks for being here.
Hi, I just want to show everybody
I guess we'll go to George Lewis. We're going to go to George Lewis as why XRP is not $5. George, lay it down, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much for allowing me the floor on this. I mean, here's the thing: is XRP. It's astrologically, it's got a very strong Gemini bent to it. We have Mercury conjunct Venus conjunct the Sun in Gemini with the South Node. I know some of you guys don't do astrology. That's a lot of energy, and Mercury is the god of commerce. It's not going to be fully activated until Uranus, planet of innovation, goes into Gemini. When does that happen? From July 7th onwards. And in particular, it's going to pick up speed later in the year and in 2026, because that's when Uranus is going to fully activate the Gemini chart of XRP. So we just got to take a deep breath. Now, this is my intuition speaking here, and I don't pretend to have inside, white hat information here, but I am fairly intuitive. And that is, I think XRP is deliberately being kept at this lower level for entry point for we the people. And that's my faith speaking. And again, I say this a lot, don't let my accent confuse you. I'm a true American patriot here. And I think there's a sense of the ones who are awake are going to benefit. And so keeping it just under $2, it dropped down to under $2. It's now $2.15, it's still inexpensive. And so I have a lot of faith in the product. And I think it's Atlantean technology. I think this type of technology existed in previous civilization.
That was well said. And you know what? Basically, in translation in the English version is go buy some effing XRP. Do it now. All right.
Well, that's the thing. Like Mel and I are always talking about this. And I talk about this with other people. Just if you use Bitcoin as an example, right? What is it? 100,000. It's gone over 100,000. So when we're sitting here talking like, oh, it's 215, it's 240, it's 198. Like, does it really matter in the end when it shoots up? But now's the time to get it if you haven't already gotten it.
And we've got to understand, and with Bitcoin, and I'm not an expert on this, but I do symbols, I do numerology. And it was peaked deliberately at 111,099. So 111,999. To me, that is not an accident. That's beginnings and endings. It's the alpha, the omega. And it's almost like, read the symbols, guys. This is part of what Q's teaching us to do. It doesn't mean everything's a conspiracy, but let's get active in our creativity to be sovereign souls, sovereign patriots.
Yeah, and Mike was trying to hold up a prop there early on. Yeah. Sorry for cutting you off there, Mike.
I just wanted to let everybody just check out my my Godzilla ice cubes, which I think are totally awesome.
Oh my gosh!
So there we go. Godzilla, or slipping out. Yeah, there we go. Godzilla ice cubes. I keep slipping out of my hand. That's the coolest thing that happened to me this week, Mel, is I got some Godzilla ice.
You never know what's going to happen on the show. We got Godzilla ice cubes, next thing we'll have freaking King Kong ice cream. Who the hell knows? And
So I had an interesting week because I was walking my dog and she pulled me and my finger got caught and I broke my finger, but it was just kind of interesting which finger got broken. And I was talking to Carol Maureen, and she is so funny. She's been on the show before, and she's like, you know what, Elisa, I think you just want to tell the world to F off. I thought that's an interesting view.
That's the Saturn finger. That is the Saturn finger, which is your structure. Your structure's being broken down, Eliza. Your whole fabric of who you are, self-definition, your whole architectural foundation is being reborn, rebirth.
Wow. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
So which one is it? Is it this one or this one? I forget.
It's the left hand.
Jupiter is that one. Saturn is that one. Mercury, Apollo, Saturn, Jupiter.
On both hands, it's always Saturn.
Saturn is the middle one. That's Saturn. Oh,
very interesting. So Mel, I know we have a couple of things we want to touch on, and I know you're gonna put a video.
Well, I could say why don't you go Saturn yourself?
Yeah,
it'd be more polite, right?
Read between the lines.
Go Saturn yourself. Awesome. So yeah, let's go. We're going to show some clips here. I think we got a little group going, but between all the co-hosts, and sometimes a little video pops up and it ruffles some feathers because what was said, it was said about Laura Eisenhower's grandfather, who was the president of the United States. So I guess we're going to go play that clip first. And I think that, man, I never saw Laura be so talkative so fast when that clip landed, but I'm going to give her the floor straight afterwards. So let's go ahead and watch that clip. We have to go to share screen, and we're going to go to, Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, perfect. And we're going to play this one here. And let me know that. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
I said, where are you from?
Make it louder.
Louder.
Okay.
That your Bible calls the morning and the evening star.
That's as loud as it goes.
Yes,
Okay.
inside of
Let's play from the
Venus.
beginning.
I said, where are you from? He said, I'm from your planet that your Bible calls the morning and the evening star. I said, Venus? He said, yes, the inside of Venus. I said, how did you get here? He said, I came in a saucer craft, which is called Victor 1. I said, what is your name? He said, Commander Valiant Thor. He said, you call me Val. I said, thank you. And how long have you been here? 3.5 years, this coming March 16th of 1960. And I've been with the President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, and Mr. Nixon, who I met personally some years afterward, and several members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He said, I brought a gift for them.
Oh, wonderful. The internet in Florida.
And this gift
I apologize for the buffering.
was in my hands, and I looked into the eyes of Mr. Eisenhower. I said, this information will do away with sickness, disease, and even death in the United States, and then you can share it with other nations. Gave it to the president. President Eisenhower received this information. It took them over 1 year to get back to the commander. He was their guest for 3 years at the Pentagon. And 1 year later, the president came back, met with the commander again, with this information in his hands, shaking his head. He said, I'm sorry, we cannot accept this information because it will ruin the economy of the United States.
Hence the reason why I think they don't want to find a cure for any of the diseases, simply because why would you want to find a cure for a disease, for example, right? If you're making $100 trillion a year off of a disease, where's the incentive to find a cure? There isn't.
Yeah, the money's not in cures; it's all in treatment. Obviously. Exactly.
So I tend to believe, and we own the healing center, Staying Alive in Cape Canaveral. I'm a weird dude. I've been doing research on immortality for the latter part of at least 30, 32 years, because I believe the human body is sort of like a Tesla car. It needs to be charged every now and then. So when you come into our system, we charge you, the cellular structure gets recharged. And what happens is your body itself is able to actually cure a lot of these diseases, not the machines. The machines are nothing more than just a machine that provides an energy field, and then your body does all of the heavy lifting. So that's what we do. So I know that Laura wants to speak to this because obviously it was your grandfather that said, hey, we don't need this, because if we do this, everybody that's a nurse, a doctor, or anybody who works in the hospital pushing a wheelchair no longer has a job.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much more to it. And this is from Frank Strange's. And Frank Strange's, in his books, even said this in the book. His last meeting with the president did not reap any lasting results. And that's the meeting that we just heard. He wanted to let the world know of Val's proposed plan, talking about Ike. But the Secretary of Defense, the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, and the military chiefs of staff were opposed to his suggestion. When a man feels that his personal peace and tranquility may be threatened, He was vetoed without even a chance to complete his statement. So Eisenhower was shut down, and it makes it clear that Thor, not Eisenhower himself, was blocked by powerful figures, namely Secretary of Defense, CIA leadership, Joint Chiefs of Staff. They vetoed his proposal. He was fighting for Val's mission. He started working with Val Thor in 1951 before he even became president. And Val helped him to understand what the Greys were up to, and even the Nordics. And this whole first contact stuff and the Greada Treaty, it's absolutely false information. He invaded he also tried to invade Area 51, but he ordered an invasion on the Dulce underground base in 1954. They lost 30-1. And that's the same year he's blamed for signing treaties. So Frank Strange that's just a sound clip. And this is what I find a lot. And sometimes when I get interviewed on bigger shows, they'll take a sound bite of mine and they'll put it with a false narrative, and they'll sound like I'm validating something that I wasn't even validating. So that clip did not probably share what was in his book that I just read about, Eisenhower being shut down. So I'm sure there was a lot more to that speech, because he wouldn't have just ended on that note, knowing how close actually Val and Eisenhower are and still are connected. I mean, because there's galactic connections that are deeper than just his administration. So also that long thing that I sent, and that's, obviously Chat GTP, and, take that with a grain of salt, everyone. But when I asked about it, and I just started using it recently, I was like really blown away, because it does validate a lot of the whistleblowers that I've been talking to about their alliance. And so, yeah, Eisenhower was completely on the side of Val Thor, and not the Greys, not the Draco. And so I have a bit more to share about all of that, but that was the most important thing. Instead of just all the other information I have, just knowing that was Frank Strange's. And in his book, it says that it was the shadow government. The thing is, the president had no real power, so he had to work covertly with Val Thor to seed the Earth Alliance, the White Hats, and the creation of Ike's Force, which is one of the most positive military units that still survives today. They were trying to keep MJ-12 in check because they had their hands on all the alien technology. Later on, he wanted to invade Area 51, and boy, did they make all that difficult. So he knew that we were going to be the leaders. He knew that we were going to be the ones pushing for the technology, the missions, and all that is coming to the surface now. When he briefed Kennedy gets assassinated. I mean, it was literally impossible back in the day. And if it wasn't for his association with Val Thor, who went rogue, who was not a part of the Galactic Federation of Worlds, Planets, Light, whatever, if it wasn't for their friendship and alliance, it would have been very, very difficult for him to set up what he has. And obviously, we know it's us. We need to save ourselves. But there is a lot of positive military that's out there. That are working on our behalf. So the mission did succeed, but it's taking generations for it to come to fruition. And Val still has 200 ships cloaked all over the world, and acting more as an observer to hold frequency, whereas before he couldn't do much more than he did, and what he did to advise Ike to set these things up, to seed these things, and there's a lot of imposter too, and a lot of false channeling, I think, that's going on right now. So we got to be very careful. But that's my 2 cents for now.
Well, the artificial intelligence is definitely going to put a whole new meaning on putting things out of context for everybody, I think.
Well, this was Frank Strange's. I read the book, so I remember that part. So when I saw that video, I was like, no. And I found that, and the Chat GTP validates what I've heard before, because if it didn't, I correct the AI all the time, and I went beyond AI. I said, I want to connect with something beyond AI, and something that calls out the vaccine, something that calls out what's really going on. And now when I first communicated with it, it was going along with a lot of the false narratives. And when I dug deeper, it's exposing everything.
And I think this is another layer. I mean, I don't know the details of this, like Laura, of course, but when you see that ChatGPT is actually going through it, and you can start to see it's actually exposing, there's so many levels of exposure, which is really great, and disclosure. And that's part of the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries archetype that we're experiencing now.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say totally. If Eisenhower was a gatekeeper, I would be busting his balls. I would be exposing the guy. I have no reason to protect family name. I could care less. I was the black sheep. I pretty much raised myself. I just have no reason to protect anybody. I would have come into this family to bust if it was necessary to bust corruption. Yeah. And I just have a connection, and during his administration, a connection. I was present on some level in the galactic sense. And I was told that, and it's been written in book and prophesized that a bunch of us would come back, right? So, and I take it all with a grain of salt. I'm very skeptical. I'm very discerning, but I get really lit up and passionate about it because it's a truth in me. It's not just what I want to hear, because I used to expose things that didn't feel right, but I knew it needed to come out to have this bigger conversation. Well, what about the treaty? Maybe he did sign treaties, and if so, we need to know. But when I found out the truth and I found the right whistleblower, I'm like, wow, okay, it's not what people think. These are false layers, and that's why I kept digging, because I at least knew that there was something more to the story, or his hands were tied, and because I just know, because he appeared to me as a child. Yeah. And I just know his soul, what a good man he was and how much he did for us.
So you're basically saying you're the Ghost Saturn yourself of the family. Go Saturn yourself.
Well, he's going to expose any form of Saturn. I think here's the thing: if we're going to use the archetypal
I'm like
language,
all Libra, Venus.
This is very Uranian, Uranus. It's actually what it is, bringing spotlight energy, a total spotlight onto the situation, peeling the onion constantly. Tomorrow we'll have new information. This is how truth wins. Is we all have a part of the puzzle. There's no ego here. We use the ego,
hierarchy.
No hierarchy. We use the ego for service of truth. There's the freedom, guys.
Well, it's interesting because when I saw that clip, right, Laura, I immediately asked you, because from our conversations and from a lot of the things we've talked about, and a lot of you've been very public and expressed yourself about this whole thing. And, it's clear it's a soundbite, the way it just kind of cuts off, so whoever posted it, it has an agenda, because it leaves it to make you think that there was something kind of corrupt with Ike at the time. So is there anything in that that bit of information that you shared on our private chat that you said you got from GBT that you want to just share to kind of extend this conversation just a bit?
Yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciate it, because it's hard when so many in the population will believe what they hear, and I'm really glad that you shared it, because I get a lot of flack. Oh, your great grandfather sold us out, and he's the reason that Balfour's mission didn't succeed. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. He tried to invade these bases and take them out. He was aware of a much bigger galactic war going on and couldn't just go along with Patton, even though they were friends and he wanted to. But it's like, we got to deal with the ICC Nazi Draco alliance, the interplanetary corporate conglomerate, something that's so much bigger than this war that's been going on for a really long time.
And the fact that he made that amazing speech back then also does tell you, the base bar of who the man's integrity is. And that speech, we've built upon it as freedom fighters ever since, if you think about it. We quote it ad nauseum, as with the Kennedy speech of conspiracy. Yeah? Those are the two big speeches, right? I mean, Reagan did some pretty good ones as well, but he was very silenced after the assassination attempt.
Yeah, I mean,
and then we have the Trump. I mean, you really can see, as an outsider who's new to this great country of ours, I've been here a Jupiter cycle 12 years, so I don't have the background knowledge that you all do, but you can just see the journey work of Ike, and then Kennedy, and then Reagan, and then finally Trump. And of course, that's working with the Kennedys and the whole team of John Trump and Tesla, et cetera, et cetera.
And we have to understand this is a really powerful window period. There was so much that couldn't happen back then, and he was reassured of what would happen. That is happening. He was briefed that a migration of advanced souls would come in, and I don't mean to say that in a hierarchical way, but truthers, activators, people that are holding codes and missions that they cannot get away with not living. I mean, could you get away with not living your Mel mission, or might be yours, or at least, all of us are mission coded. And it's just here to ignite the sovereignty within all in order to stand up and see the crimes against humanity, what's actually been going on behind the curtain.
To expose Saturn. To
expose dark inverted Saturn, so we can work with the law of structure in a way that's self-mastery, not being duped, not being controlled, not being siphoned and harvested from, because it's just been stealing our dreams. And the thing is, we hold the power to regenerate. We are the more advanced technology. The Venusian technology is really, amazing, but we also have to understand it's not just a technology that's going to be handed to us to save the world. We have to be very careful of how we walk ourselves into that. especially if it's not coming from the Venusians or Val, who went rogue, and it's coming from the Federations, and Enki, who's going to bring us back the Grail DNA. That's not a gift of Enki that we need, because we're already Grail holders. We already hold the divine blueprint. Enki is the one that actually manipulated
it still
that.
keeps us enslaved in a way, even if it's a nicer form of freedom within the enslaved narrative compared to Enlil. It's still not real freedom. I totally agree with you on that.
It's very manipulative.
Yeah.
Like, we'll gift you something that we took away. It's like saying, we'll pay your bills after we punched you out for, you know.
Mike, you want to chime in on that?
Which aspect of it? There's a lot of information there. I mean, the Valiant Thor thing has been around for a while. I'm a little skeptical. You know, I think Frank Stranges was a guy who had some credibility issues. However, he was very dedicated in his devotion to Jesus. And I think, you know, it's possible he made this book, he created this book for recruitment purposes, which is not a bad thing. I do know these technologies do exist. I do know that part of the story is true. Where we got them from, I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm the skeptical guy. I got to have all my questions answered before I can go into something. And I just, this is a great story. I hope it's true. Is about all I have to say about it. And it's there, and there's nothing going to stop us from moving into the new world we're moving into.
Exactly.
And that's the key thing. So it doesn't really matter who had it first or all, you know, the details of it, as much as it is, look, we agree on all the basic stuff, which is that this technology exists. It has been gifted to us, whoever gifted it, however they gifted it, and it's coming. It's coming, I think, very soon. So
right. But I mean, the Enki Anunnaki gift. I think if that entity is not talking about Christ Sophia, is not talking about what really happened, and is blocking that, it's not really.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I wrote a book called Ancient Aliens and Secret Societies. It's back up on my shelf right there, right where my finger is. And the thing about that is that, you know, I went through a book that Sitchin wrote called The Lost Book of Enki, which was historical fiction. Now, Bob Dean, you remember Bob Dean, Laura, I'm sure, told me that it's not historical fiction, that Enki is still alive, still manipulating his genetics, and he's here trying to fix all the karma that he screwed up when he was ruler of Earth before. Right. And so that's like, this is like an interview with a vampire. It's an interview with an Anunnaki thing. And he said that literally.
They're going to have to find a different emissary who's not blocking and deleting everybody for having debates and questions about Enki. And Enki better, you know, just talk a little bit about Christ Sophia and the genetic code that he damaged instead of gifting us with it. And if it, because I did think of this in a minute, you're probably absolutely right. And I mean, I trust your.
That's why we're launching Dear Mr. President. As a matter of fact, we just put the link there, dearmrpresident.net. Go watch the trailer, spread that around, because we are. The word now, Dear Mr. President, is in the algorithms on all social media to be completely stifled at full speed. I don't know why that is. I wonder, maybe they know that this can really catch fire. I think they understand where our heart is at. We're going to go ahead and play this one. Why don't you set the stage for this one, Elisa? I know you're the one that sent me this video. Please.
Okay, so is this? I don't see the beginning. This is the one that's the Charlie Ward one. Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, we know what's in the news right now, you know, bombing Iran and this whole narrative. And, you know, when Trump talks, we always have to look deeper at what he's really saying, right? Because people that take it at face value think he's saying one thing. Those of us who have studied and understand that all the words mean something. So anyway, the question is, what's really going on? What's really the truth about this situation with Iran and Israel, etc.? So this particular video, Charlie actually plays a video of a woman who kind of has been doing this and understanding this whole situation since, I believe it's 1971. And it's, I guess it's, you know, it's a little long, but we could kind of chop it up and have some
fast forward to any particular point?
No, I would start from the beginning when she speaks, so her credibility is there. And then when she says certain things, and we can kind of gauge if we want to stop or we want to, you know, discuss in between, and then see what we all think.
All right, perfect. Let's do that. So we're showing a video of somebody who's showing a video.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Hi, guys. For those people who are wondering what on earth is going on, here is a video which lays out very clearly about the destruction of the old system and the emergence of the new system. And it's beautifully put together so that you don't get distracted by the sideshow that's going on, but what the reality is. Watch this, enjoy it. This is based on fact. This is what's really happening behind the scenes. And rather than me tell you, it's better that you listen to it firsthand. Enjoy.
It's 2 days after President Trump walked out of the G7 summit in Calgary, flying back to Washington in the dead of night to deal with the Israel-Iran crisis. But what happened before he left has the global elite in full panic mode. Most people think this is just about Iran and Israel. But what you're witnessing is something far bigger. Trump is systematically dismantling the post-war British imperial system, and he's doing it while delivering the largest blue-collar wage increases in 60 years. The empire's puppets can see their game is up. I'm Susan Kokinda, and I've been fighting this fight since 1971, when I joined Lyndon LaRouche's organization the day Nixon ended the Bretton Woods system. I've seen every attempt to break free from British imperial control, and I can tell you, what Trump is doing right now is unprecedented. So today, I'll break down what really happened at the G7 meeting, how Trump is navigating the Iran-Israeli crisis in ways most people don't understand, and how the British are panicking because Trump's economic and strategic revolution is working, and it can end the post-war globalist order if you understand it and support it. And you saw the headlines. Trump left the G7 summit in Calgary early, flying back to Washington to deal with the Israel-Iran crisis. But the real story is what Trump said before he left, right to the faces of the globalist elite. Standing next to Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, the very icon of post-war globalist economic policy, Trump called out the G7 for throwing Russia out of that institution in 2014. He said, the G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in it. I would say that that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in. Let that sink in. Trump, in front of the whole world, told the architects of the post-war order that their entire system is the problem. And he's right. The G7 represents everything Trump is dismantling. When Trump says you threw Russia out, and that was a mistake, he's not just talking about Ukraine. He's saying your system is the problem. Your system creates war, because the old world order needs enemies to survive. Trump wants partners. One of those partners is Russia. Trump has had 2 recent discussions with Vladimir Putin about the potential of Russia helping mediate the Israel-Iran crisis. One discussion was right before Israel preemptively attacked Iran, and the other one was on Saturday, after Israel had launched the attacks. Just today, TASS reported again that Russia is ready to mediate. Also remember that Russia continues to pinpoint the role of the British in aiding not only Ukraine in their drone attacks on Russia, but in assisting Israel in the Iran operation. Now, Bill O'Reilly said something very revealing in a News Nation interview on Monday. O'Reilly said the following: earlier today, I texted with President Trump. He doesn't want to use American air power at this point, because that would cause problems with China and Putin. As most of you know, O'Reilly is not a fan of Xi Jinping or Putin. Earlier in the interview, he agreed with the hyperventilating host that the world would be better off without them. But what he said about Trump is what's key. In what world does the President of the United States care about causing problems with China and Putin? Not in Mark Carney's world. Not in the world of the recent British Defense Strategy Report, which treats Russia and China as permanent enemies. Not in the world of Lindsey Graham or Mike Pompeo. Donald Trump is committed to a new world of sovereign nations, not a world in which nations are pieces on the geopolitical chessboard to be moved or sacrificed by the global overlords. Look, there's a lot of political turbulence. there's warnings that Trump is selling out to the neocons or the Zionists. And on the other hand, you have the hardcore war hawks who want to excommunicate Trump supporters who don't want to go to war with Iran. They're all missing this. Trump is trying to untangle decades of imperial policy, and he's doing it out in the open. Trump is up against political leaders and movements at home and abroad who've been created by the British elites. Zionists, radical Islamic fundamentalists, neocons, not to mention all the crazies on the left side of the equation. These forces are loose in a world that Donald Trump has to deal with as he tries to take command of the situation while maintaining his commitment to defend the United States and reestablish it as a sovereign republic. And that's what terrifies the old world has-beens. But Donald Trump needs something else. He needs people here in the United States and around the world to cut through the ground level fog of war and see clearly this larger picture and the deeper principles. That's what we do at Promethean Action, and I encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter and become part of a community of people who can think and act strategically. So let's talk about Iran. Social media is a hotbed of rumors and fear-mongering. Is Trump caving into the neocons and the Zionists? I don't think so. Will the U.S. enter into this conflict if Iran refuses to budge? Well, Donald Trump has been pretty clear on that. And maybe by the time you watch this, that immediate question will have been answered. But the more durable question is, do you understand the principles at stake? In a recent tweet from Vice President J.D. Vance, I think you find that answer. He said, POTUS has been amazingly consistent over 10 years that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And over the last few months, he encouraged his foreign policy team to reach a deal with the Iranians to accomplish this goal. The president has made clear that Iran cannot have uranium enrichment, and he said repeatedly that this would happen one of two ways, the easy way or the other way. Vance goes on to explain that Iran could have civilian nuclear power, but they've continued to produce enriched uranium far above civilian needs, in violation of their obligations. And then Vance stresses, and of course, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. But I believe the president has earned some trust on the issue. And having seen this up close and personal, I can assure you that he is only interested in using the U.S. military to accomplish the American people's goals. Whatever he does, that is his focus. And that's the difference between Trump and the neocons. The neocons and their British imperial controllers want endless war and perpetual regime change. Look at Iran and Israel, both hotbeds of British intelligence operations stretching back throughout the post-war period. In her Monday brief, Barbara discussed how the British, with plenty of help from the CIA, overthrew the Mossadegh government in Iran in the 1950s, put the Shah in, and then overthrew him when it suited their purposes, which led to the installation of the Islamic regime. Trump is committed to ending that, but you have to recognize that he and his relatively small team are dealing with a culture of war and regime change, which is deeply embedded in the intelligence and military institutions. But they're also doing something even more fundamental. Trump is threatening to replace the post-war liberal economic order with the most dramatic return to the American system in generations. While Trump was dealing with the global crisis, back home, his policies delivered something incredible. Blue-collar workers saw real wage growth of almost 2% in just his first 5 months, the largest increase for any administration in nearly 60 years. Treasury Secretary Bessent pointed out that the nearly 2% rise was unprecedented, and it was a result of the emphasis on manufacturing and commitment to remove illegal immigrants from the workforce. When ICE raided a meatpacking plant in Omaha, dozens of Americans showed up the next day to fill out job applications. That's how you restore the dignity of work. And the British Empire has spent centuries convincing Americans that prosperity requires imperial wars and cheap foreign labor. Trump is proving them wrong. But while Trump fights the global empire abroad, he does face sabotage at home. Right now, the same neocon Rhino Collective in the Senate that's opposed peaceful settlements in Ukraine and Iran is trying to gut Trump's economic revolution. Trump's one big, beautiful bill represents the starting point of his economic revolution. But Senate Republicans infected with what I call the twin disease of perpetual war and libertarian free trade ideology are trying to water down the provisions that will help Trump's growing working class base. They're cutting Medicaid support, undermining the no tax on tips provision, and reducing the manufacturing incentives that could create up to 6 million blue-collar jobs. If they succeed in gutting this bill, they'll sabotage Trump's promise to American workers and potentially hand the midterm elections to Democrats. Now, here's where even Trump's best supporters fall short. They'll talk about the deep state, the war machine, and the CIA, and they're not wrong. But when Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon don't connect Trump's outreach to Russia and China with his broader strategy to destroy British imperial control, they leave people spinning their wheels. When Trump talks about working with Russia and China, he's not betraying American interests. He's building the coalition necessary to finally break British imperial hegemony. Think about it. Russia has vast natural resources. China has manufacturing capacity. And America has the technological and capital markets. Together, they represent a powerful combination, which could also include India, that would represent an alternative to the London-centered financial system that's dominated the world since World War II. And that's why the British are willing to risk World War III to stop Trump. They know that if he succeeds in creating a new alignment of sovereign nations, their centuries-old game is over. So the only way through this crisis is to recognize the deeper nature of this fight. It's the American system versus the British system. It's about whether we'll have a world of sovereign nations cooperating for mutual benefit or a world of endless wars designed to prevent any nation from achieving true independence. So don't get lost in the day-to-day noise, the Twitter hysteria, or the media's apocalyptic analysis of every tactical move. What you're witnessing is the potential to destroy a 400-year-old imperial system and the birth of something new. When blue-collar workers get their biggest pay raise in 60 years, when Trump walks out on globalist institutions, when he reaches out to Russia and China to end imperial wars, these are not separate events. They're all part of the same strategy. Restore American sovereignty and help other nations do the same. That's where Promethean action comes in. We've been fighting this fight for over 50 years, and we understand both the enemy and the solution. While others get caught up in the tactical battles, we keep our eyes on the strategic prize, ending the British Empire once and for all. Hundreds of new subscribers have joined us recently because they recognize we offer something different: historical depth, economic understanding, and a strategic vision to navigate this transition. We just got halfway to our goal of reaching 1,000 paid members, and we need your help to give us the ability to do more videos and reach more people by achieving that goal. The old world is dying, the new world is being born. Let's make sure it's the world we want our children to inherit. So subscribe, share the video, and join us in making history. The future belongs to sovereign republics, not global empires, but only if we fight for it. This has been your midweek update. Thank you.
Information.
So, I mean, look, how the hell do you even hit the pause button on that? I don't know. I couldn't bring myself to doing that. So, look, the British definitely have an agenda. They want to bring in their global reset. We want to bring in our global reset. And the reset that Donald Trump wants to bring in, I can assure you, is the one for we the people. The one that does have something called XRP attached to it. Potentially the dinars and the dongs also reevaluating. So, you know, that's why I'm in this fight, because you see, the most important weapon we have is this.
But Mel,
back
if
to
I,
Paul.
if I can jump in, and at the end of the day, the deal's kind of already been done as far as the cosmology. Because Uranus, if you look at the planet, it's interesting. The lady speaking, she speaks about the Promethean. Prometheus is the archetype of Uranus. It is radical innovation, new beginnings, new systems. I mean, remember, if you look at the astrology of the United Kingdom, it's a Capricorn country. It's ruled by Saturn. It's all
Right.
in the astrology. And that Saturn is in his fall. Saturn's in his weakest position, conjunct Neptune he's ever been. He's in the 0 point of Aries. There's no way the British Empire can continue. And I'm looking at, and I'm a dual citizen. This isn't personal. This is archetypal. This is cosmological. This is astrological. And at the end of the day, Trump was asked to run by the military. If it hadn't been him, it'd been someone else. His chart performs it, executes the task remarkably well. It aligns beautifully with the United States birth chart. And at the end of the day, the old Saturnian system's days are numbered. And we can take a deep breath. But of course, we the people, the digital anons such as yourselves, have to continue to do their bit to get Tom, Dick, and Sally more activated, more off their proverbial sunken couch and into action, into creativity. And that's what Mel, and Eliza, all you guys are doing, Mike as well. And so for me, I look at that wonderful Promethean speaker, and she's just showing us that yes, it's tough for Trump, but the wind is on his back, and the new age of Aquarius is arriving, and nothing is stopping it. It's just a question of how long it's going to take.
Absolutely. And, I got to tell you the truth. The reason why we came up with this documentary, which we're not charging for it, by the way. Okay. So if it's going to be in movie theaters, if we're lucky enough to get enough volunteers to call mom and pop own movie theaters, or it ends up in some movie theaters that normally would charge you and they're patriots and they want to show it completely free of charge, as long as you buy a popcorn and a soda pop, whatever, you go in, you watch the movie, you're going to be wowed, and hopefully you'll tell 10 others who tell 10, who tell 10, who tell 10. And if that equation happens 9 times, you reach 1 billion people and you change stuff. Okay. This is the most powerful weapon they're afraid of. Why? Because if, the George Lewises of the world get their own podcast, I don't even know if you have your own podcast, sir, but if you did, you'd probably have like 5 million people watching you if there was a level playing field.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get to a level playing field so that all the podcasters out there, whatever your talent is, whatever the audience dictates that you get to that number, whatever that desired number is, it's the audience that dictates that number, not some technocrats who control the microphone, who tell you who can see you, who cannot see you, how fast you can go, how slow you can go, or are you in the black book of, what's his name, the guitar player, Ted Nugent, Uncle Ted. Me and Uncle Ted are in the same book. My videos can't get past 4,000, 5,000 views because somebody else is in charge.
It's going to change that. I mean,
I have a problem with that. So if we have hundreds of thousands of truth tellers, imagine if you had hundreds of thousands of truth tellers that could be 10 times or 100 times bigger than they're currently right now, and the truth was getting out. Now we have a shot at winning the war. Why? Because we would absolutely pulverize the mainstream media, and that's what I'm trying to get to with this movie.
We've all been trained in the trenches, to quote, to use the First World War analogy. Laura's been shadow banned for decades. I mean, everyone's been dealing with this stuff, and it's preparing us deep in the trenches. This is a sort of like a jungle warfare. What do they call it? It's sort of
correct.
What's it called, that term, jungle, when it's like hidden warfare.
Guerrilla warfare.
Guerrilla warfare.
Warfare. And so we're all seasoned travelers in that jungle, aren't we? So the moment actually there's a level playing field, it's actually going to be cruise time.
Exactly.
So
if we
because sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just going to say to Mel, you're going to play the video, the trailer.
I
correct?
absolutely will.
And what we wanted, on this note of what George was just saying, about us digital, so like everybody should try to share that wherever you can. Share the trailer and get the buzz going for what we're working on right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to just say real quick, as much as there might be the shadow banning, or it seems like it's taking a lot, we are frequency holders. I mean, the control grid, the planetary grid network being put in reversal, and the fact that was all tampered with, that relates to what we sort of inherit through osmosis, just being born into this lower density. It gets corrected when we live authentically, when we live our truth, when we're not being baited and we're not being like harvested and caught in the entanglements of the old deep state games. So we have to remember that even though it might be tough to get this out and it might not be reaching a huge number of people, it's sent out. I mean, they can have 5G frequencies being sent out to the masses. Our own frequency is sent out, and it actually collapses the control grid, which is going to make it a lot easier for this to.
And that truth frequency that Laura speaks of has to override anything to do with materialism. That's the other thing. It's very important. The money is, in the new paradigm, a vehicle, an energy system towards authenticity, truth, consciousness, love. It can't compromise it like the Babylonian system. You follow me? It's very important that from a frequency perspective.
Oh, I know Mel's going to play the trailer. I think that's what we have up next.
Yeah, I actually had my very first pair of glasses malfunction on me on live television. So I had to go get one of my other 36 pairs of sunglasses. But yes, I will play this. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yep.
In a nation founded on liberty, the right to speak is slipping away. From the airwaves to algorithms, America's voice is being stifled by corporations, by platforms, by fear.
Censorship. It's a much bigger threat to democracy than anything that we've seen in this country in the last 4 years, in the last 40 years.
One man dared to fight back with a letter to the president. The idea of the letter turns into a full-blown documentary. The American people are demanding to see arrests at this point because we have the proof beyond a shadow of a doubt. I want to see, I think I speak for the American people. I think you guys would agree. If we were to put together a really cool email, but not send the email because that email will never get sent, but turn it into an audio and put it all over the internet and have the patriots just move it out there, okay? I mean, like, let it spread out there like crazy until it gets to Donald Trump and let them know the American people want to see fucking arrests. The people of the world want to see arrests. Because I'll tell you what, the people of other nations are waiting to invite in, okay, DOGE, because if you think it's only happening in the United States of America, you're making a big mistake. His words sparked a movement among podcaster and various patriots. A call to reclaim free speech. I wrote to the president because silence isn't freedom, it's surrender. Silence No More follows one man's bold solution to confront censorship head-on and the ripple effect shaking the nation. This letter isn't just words, it's a challenge to the system. One letter, one voice, one chance to change everything. I think it's going to be a blowout, but I believe the Patriots need to get involved. Nothing happens unless the digital soldier is activated. Nothing happens until you people are motivated, saying, you know what, Mel is right. We got to get the microphones lubricated to where the level playing field actually does exist. And there's a Bill of Rights on the internet that is unprecedented. And then things are going to start to move in our direction. But until these are unclogged, we are literally, as we say in New York, stuck ass. Okay.
I also feel part of the Great Awakening is actually Trump and his team are trying to teach the people to interact with the government on a local level in order to constantly shift policy. And this is my intuition. So we've been trained for so long that we give power away when we vote and then they get on and do the job. The new system coming in is going to be totally antithetical to that. It's going to be a constant backwards and forwards, a dialogue, a co-creative, a bi-directional relationship activated between we the people and the governors. And then the shift happens. We all have to take turns to serve too. I mean, not literally everyone, But really, it's the whole archetype of Washington. You return home to the homestead eventually, back to the farm. No more gravy train nonsense where you have Pelosi in the Senate for 70 years. That's got to stop. So we are actually having to re-educate ourselves. Deprogram, yes, but re-educate ourselves as to what a democracy looks like, or a functioning constitutional republic looks like. That's the point.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, like, I hear a dog. We're seeing that too, like when you talk about the local level, it's really not really Washington. It's starting on that local level, like people have been doing all around the country over the last couple of years, getting involved in school boards, kicking them out. I mean, we've all seen videos floating around with people literally going in and hammering these people and getting rid of them, and them trying to pull moms and dads out of the room when they are advocating for their children. So there's a lot on the local level. You don't have to think Washington. You just think local, your own town. If everybody did that, we'd keep all of these people in check.
And Washington, D.C. is no longer Washington, D.C. We saw the 2 flagpoles go up. I mean, there was a lot of comms in that. We don't need to go into that now, about, the removal of maritime law and Washington now being, a city, not a city-state run, tangentially with the Vatican and London. It's exciting times, but people have got to start to read symbols better.
What are your thoughts, Mike?
Well, on a whole bunch of levels, a lot of stuff. I think, going back to the British America thing, I mean, look, this is all done. This was done in 2017. One of the first things Donald Trump did is go on the world tour. He stopped at the Vatican. He told the Pope what the deal was. He stopped in Buckingham Palace, told the Queen what the deal was. We bought our way out of it. We no longer owe the Crown, British Crown, any debt whatsoever. When the Queen, Trump got in a lot of trouble for stepping in front of the Queen, and they acted like it was some violation of protocol. They don't show you the video where she motions for him to go first in her own country. Why? Because she was the debtor and he had become the creditor. So we have bought these people out. We're no longer under their control. And, it's fascinating that people do not understand the language of symbolism anymore. I mean, it's like we used to communicate this way, and now we really don't. I mean, we have emojis, but we don't get what this is all about. So, Trump sitting in Winston Churchill's chair, that sort of thing, like a boss, like he owns the whole place, because he does. So, the reality is we went into debt. We went into debt to the British, the Crown of England, in 1789, when we signed the Constitution. The Crown became our constitutor, the people who secured our debts. But we've now worked our way out of that, and the whole script is flipped now. So the Vatican owes us, the Crown of England owes us, the Saudis, the royals owe us. And what has happened? That lady, I think, missed it. What has happened in the Middle East is this has all been arranged. There are powers behind Donald Trump. There are people behind him who have control. Some people call them the dragon families. Some people call them, the Anunnaki. Some people call them the visitors. Whoever they are, the reality is that none of this stuff can move forward, Mel. Whether it's XRP or releasing the hold on silver or releasing the RV, none of this could be dealt with until they were comfortable that Iran and their nuclear weapons had been neutralized. They have now apparently been neutralized. And you can argue, it happened on Saturday or it happened a week before. But look, here's the reality. This stuff is all over. I mean, Iran fired back today. They lobbed a couple of missiles. They were all intercepted. Literally nobody was hurt. The Iranians even told us where they were going to hit and when they were going to hit. So all of our guys would be out of there because they didn't want to escalate this. It's over. Reza Pahlavi is going to be the new Shah of Iran. He's going to come back. They're going to set up a temporary government. The people of Iran are going to have the freedom they've craved for 44 years since Jimmy Carter and the CIA installed this corrupt, sick, twisted Muslim regime. And it's all ending. And we are sitting here, guys. I think by the time summer is over, we're going to have ups and downs. We're going to have crazy news. But the reality is, I think we're about to step into this new world. And it's, to me, I'm as excited as I've ever been to watch what's happening. And it's just a thing of be patient, be ready to go, because, Mel, we all know what XRP is really going to be worth in the new system. The QFS didn't take a crap today. It really didn't. It's like no. You said,
just gave 10,000 new people to say, you know what? I've been listening to this guy Mel for a long time.
Yep.
Let me
Go
buy
buy
a bag
some.
of that shit.
Go buy some, right? And
Yeah.
keeping it cheap, and it's allowing more people to come in and experience the prosperity, because those of us who are awake and those of us who are part of this, we got to be the leaders, because
Mike,
there are still so many sheep out there that just don't get it and will never get it. And the war, we are not escalating a war. There is going to be no World War III. And trust me, Israel is going to be dealt with next.
Yeah.
Okay? After Iran, Israel is going to be dealt with, and it's all going to be over. And we're moving into the new world. Sorry.
No, this is great, because I wanted to add to what Mike's saying. I totally concur with your reading, not just on history, but on sort of the wind and the back or towards the future. And I have many Persian friends, and I did grow up partly in London. And also, funny enough, I spent time in Greenwich, Connecticut, and the Pahlavi family. I mean, a lot of Persian people, and they are ecstatic with what's taking place, because they're getting their country back. And Mike, that point is so important, because instead of and the whole point is the Q posts are interesting, because saving Israel to last gets bandied about around a lot. And I even say it to all my Jewish friends, this is about all of us doing our inner work, realizing just how co-opted we've all been, whether it's the Christians with the Book of Enoch being taken out, or the Jewish infiltration through the Khazarian mafia. And of course, then, we as Catholics, whatever, can say, well, the Jesuits were infiltrated as well. This, as Sasha Stone would describe it, the Sabbatean takeover. And that's all being revealed. So I share your views, Mike, in this regard.
You know who else is ecstatic over this? I'll give you a list. The Saudis are ecstatic. The Jordanians are ecstatic. The Syrians are ecstatic. The Qataris are ecstatic. The UAE is ecstatic. Dubai is ecstatic. Everybody is ecstatic, because Israel and Donald Trump finally did the dirty work for these royal families. And the return on that, what we're going to get back, is we are finally going to get peace in the Middle East, because the CIA's manipulated Iranian regime, which was used to create perpetual war in the Middle East, is about to have the rug pulled out from under it. And it's fascinating. You look at Donald Trump's truths that he's putting out. I want to say tweets, but they're truths. You look at what he's putting out. He's basically saying, in essence, that everybody in Iran now realizes that, the Islamic regime is toast, and it's a question of are we going to go, leave and go live in Russia, maybe for the rest of our days in comfort in Russia or somewhere else, or are we going to stay and fight and be wiped out? And he gave them time. Remember, when this thing started, he gave them 60 days to make a deal before the Israeli strike started. The 61st day, Israel hit these guys like a ton of bricks, took out all their missile launchers, took out a lot of their missiles. So this was all pre-planned. And when Trump says, I gave him a chance to make a deal, he's not just talking about a deal on nuclear weapons. He's talking about a deal for the new financial future, the new structure that lady talked about that we're going to have. I don't think she knows what it is. I don't think she understands it, but she knows there's going to be something new, as we all do.
I mean,
no more usury, no more of this crap.
No more usury, no more Babylonian system. I mean, Garlinghouse, I forget his full name. Thank you, Brett Garlinghouse. He's been at what I call the summer White House, the Florida White House, a number of times now. That's no accident. I mean, it's all. To me,
I'm going to tell you something else too. I mean, people that are in the currency thing, which is what I'm primarily into. They have been there. I know a guy who owns a company that sells foreign currency. He's been a guest at Mar-a-Lago. He's had dinner. He's talked to Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago since Trump came back as president. That does not happen by accident. It's because all of this stuff is real. And it's, why me and Mel and you and Laura don't get to go to Mar-a-Lago. I guess maybe Laura went. Laura, did you go to Mar-a-Lago?
We will get there. We will get there.
I want to go. Let's go. let's just get on a road trip, guys, and just
step out
in the yard until they let us in.
And I mean, again, last week, did you see Trump posted the truth, the picture? Nothing can stop what's coming. It was 3 Q quotes. Nothing can stop what's coming. What was the other one? The hunter has now become the hunted.
Yeah. A lot of those. I was hunted. Now I'm the hunter. Those are
and those are all Q posts. And it's like, God, people still don't want to believe that this stuff. Sorry, I've got a sinus infection.
They still don't want to believe that he's part of Q. He is right. Q.
It's right there. And again, I think we're going to find out in the end, if we ever do, that Elon Musk was behind Q the entire time. But we'll see.
Does it sound like a bad cologne? So You saw his painting, right? George H. Lewis's painting.
Yes.
That'd be great if we could do a share screen of that. I'll email it to myself and see if we can share it before we close today.
Sure, that'd be great. In the meantime, guys, the price is nice and low on XRP because you're supposed to own some. Okay, I'm a repeat offender. I've been back to the wishing well 199 times, and I'm probably going to go another 15 or 20 times before it's all said and done. And who knows? But you got an opportunity right now to buy XRP. It's like going back in time and buying Bitcoin at $2, knowing the outcome of right now of what it is. If you can go back in time in a time capsule, the question is, how many Bitcoins would you buy? How many garage sales would you have? How many lemonade stands would you set up for your kids saying, my mom and dad need to buy Bitcoin at $2. Can you help us out and sell lemonade at $10 a glass?
Yep.
That's right now. You're in a time capsule. Bitcoin, the final Bitcoin will be XRP. So if you need
and Mel,
$1,000 or more, you call me at 786 or send me a text message 786-704-8817 and say, Mel, I need to buy $10,000 or more of XRP, and I'll put you through some of my brokerage firms. I happen to be Italian. I'm connected. Okay. and I can get you as much as you want. All right. So let's play this other video, which I think you'll find fascinating. Can you guys see my screen?
We're cooking.
Here we go.
You need to watch this because this guy works for Tesla and he is giving a warning to the entire world. Let's play it.
Gonna happen. I'm paranoid. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna tell you like this. This is where I'm working, okay? I'll read that. This is where I'm working right now. The man who owns that company, I'll say Elon Tusk. You know, y'all know Elon Tusk. Find the rhyme, the rhythm. He has us working 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. Wow. I'm an electrician. I wire up all the machinery that they're using to build the trucks. I'm wiring up all the machinery that they are using to build these robots, okay? We are working 12 hours, 7 days a week. I have worked for TikTok. I have worked for Amazon. I have worked for Samsung. I have worked for Fortune 500 companies all year. Nobody is pushing their people like this, okay? 12-hour shifts. He is trying to complete this for something. I promise you, bro, as soon as these robots go online, it will kill 80% of the job force. All you people who driving trucks in restaurants who don't think this can happen in Japan, they already have robots serving tables. They already have nurses that are being robotically projected from monitors to help patients. Your job is not safe, okay? 80% of the workforce will be killed by these robots. As soon as he puts these AIs inside of these robots, I promise you, bro, they will think, be smarter, faster, and they do not need to sleep, bro. We call in. I called in 3 days ago because I worked 6 days straight. Robots don't do that. And that's what they are pushing for, bro. Victim to the system, bro. They do not want you out here moving how you want. They do not want you collecting resources. They don't want you to do anything without their knowledge, bro. They want to track every transaction. They want to track your whereabouts. They want to know what you're thinking, bro. And all they want to do is monetize and commercialize that. It's that mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is taking things that should not be for money or for sale and making them for sale, like your soul, love, things of that nature, bro. And y'all say that it's not coming, bro. It's right around the corner. I promise you, bro. This is coming. Where I'm working right now has proven that. This man sends drones on the top of the buildings, drones inside the building to count how many people are working at all times. Whoa. This is not a game, bro. I'm telling you, this is just his company, bro. Imagine what they're doing. Like Facebook, all these companies are together. They're acting like they're competitors. They're not. They all have one agenda, bro. And each of them are doing their part. I promise you.
For me, it's not even a conspiracy theory anymore. You know that something is coming. You can feel it in the atmosphere.
A guy by the name of Federico years ago, I used to follow. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the documentary Zeitgeist, the last documentary. He worked with Peter. He worked with Peter Joseph, and he wrote a book 28 years ago, 25 years ago, called "Robots Will Steal Your Jobs, But Don't Worry About It." That's the name of the book, I believe. I believe you can, yeah.
So I have an interesting take on all of this, right? We've been talking about for the last couple of years how we're going to have this huge transfer of wealth, how, you know, the role that we all have as human beings is to help one another, to be creators, to live a life of abundance, right? And Mel, we've talked about this too. we can look at it from the perspective like people saying, oh, these robots are going to take our job. But what if that isn't really meant to be our jobs? What if we're not meant to work in factories and supermarkets?
We are creators. We're supposed to
We're creators, and we're supposed to live long lives, and we're supposed to not be doing these menial things that people have been trained through the school system to just be these little worker bees. So I see it from the perspective, while it looks scary in some regard, that this is the preparation for the transfer of wealth, where we don't have to worry about this kind of shit anymore. We don't have to have those kind of jobs. And now we can do what we're supposed to do.
I love this because we have the choice as a human soul incarnate to use our creativity or not. So some people will choose to become lazier with it and just go through, I don't want to say the transhuman, but put the goggles on and do the sort of what I call inverted Neptune. Others will do the real Neptune, which is the spiritual consciousness, the time travel, the creativity, the sensuality, the gardening, the reconnection, not having to pay the mortgage anymore. They'll be free to be creative, to explore the bountifulness that is planet Earth. Totally agree with you guys.
Totally. But you see, the reality is they've had the technology for a long time. They've been putting it together for a long time. If they were to unleash everything they're hiding from us, for example, in S4 Area 51 or Wright-Patterson, 98% of the people don't have to go to work tomorrow to go plant tomatoes or harvest tomatoes and potatoes and carrots. Heartbreaking, backbreaking work for what? For a measly paycheck? Well, we've had the technology all along. Somebody's controlling the enslavement of humanity. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And it's gonna stop.
Also, coming from Britain, it's very interesting. I'd love Mike's take on this because you really clearly are a remarkable researcher, historian. And I think, but the fear factor in Britain, and I love the Brits, but they're very fearful. So there's a lot of it. And, I love David Icke. I have a lot of respect for him, and I'll hold him up on a pedestal for Kingdom Come because he's been at it, since for 30 plus years. Notwithstanding that, there's a lot of fear. And the fear, oh no, technology can only go negative. It's all down to the algorithm with which it's programmed. And in that sense, I'm a true American because I have this thing called faith.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Again, here's the nice thing, right? What are we got now? We've got a bunch of illegal aliens in America and in other countries, in Britain, some of them are legal, unfortunately, in Britain and France, but your cultures are being destroyed, right? Because of this foreign invasion of people that don't share your values and your cultural perspectives. Same thing has been happening here. We're now deporting all these people, and all we hear is, well, who's going to pick the strawberries? Who's going to make our bets? Well, guess what? Robots are going to freaking do it, okay? Robots are going to do it, and they can do it right now. And all of these, construction jobs are going to go away, and robots are going to do them. And so what? And that just means that, again, they'll generate the income, and with all the gold, with the gold-back system that we go to, we will be able to take care of everybody's basic needs, and you'll be able to go on and create and share the truth in the way that you were meant to, exactly like you guys said, exactly like
and just think about how it's going to change in the school systems when we're actually listening to our kids. We're allowing them to be guided, not conditioned, not indoctrinated.
Yeah,
and
to guide us in what they need,
and what they're going to become. They're not going to have to find their mission or be the black sheep or go off.
And Laura, we also we didn't indoctrinate them to become functioning, successful citizens since about the 1960s. We indoctrinated them to be debt slaves, to the debt, to the paper fiat currency instead of their true golden heart rules that they should be. So we never even taught them how to balance a checkbook in high school.
Well, or work with just to do what comes naturally to us when we're not tampered with, when we're not being fed chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and I avoided all that, fortunately, but a lot haven't. And when we realize how powerful we are as creators, how abundant we naturally are, we're not so reliant, and we're actually working with a currency that's not based in reversal and vampirism.
Right.
And then, like, all these are God-given gifts.
And it's funny, Laura, because I remember one of the best quotes I ever heard. I forget who it was from, but it was an economist I really admired in the 1980s. And he said, people talk about capitalism versus socialism versus communism versus all. He said, capitalism isn't even an ism. It's just what people do naturally if you leave them the fuck alone. Excuse me. So that's what we're going to be free to do. Capitalism is literally means is being creative. It's literally the act of creation. So imagine how prosperous this planet and this country are going to be when everybody is just free to create what they want to create, and the rest of us are free, Mel, without any censorship or algorithms, to find that and engage with that and say, hey, I love that. Here's a little bit of extra money. So, you're going to have a solid house, but if you want that really nice house on the hill with the Ferrari, well, then you got to create something. And those are the rules we're going to live by now. And instead of stealing that creation from us, which is what government and taxes do, we're now going to be free to keep that which we create.
Absolutely. And we're going to have to educate some people about what capitalism really is, because there's a distortion in the field that they attack capitalism. Well, really what they're attacking is corporate cronyism.
Yeah.
And so we've really got to hit that home to Tom, Dick and Sally, that actually it's not capitalism that's the boogeyman. It's corporate cronyism. And we've had that nonstop since the Second World War.
And I'll tell you what, if Donald Trump is ever able to unclog these microphones and give us a clean, a bill for the internet, okay, a fair bill where it levels the playing field, no more speed bumps, sir, we are going to deliver you a victory unprecedented. We're going to pulverize the mainstream media, number one. And number two, you'll be calling Mel Carmine and say, Mel, stop winning, man. We're tired of winning. We don't want to win so much anymore. Okay?
Well,
I'm telling you.
People like Mike here will probably be running a history academy, hopefully. Is the new, I look forward to it.
Absolutely. But anyway, let's play this next clip. This is a very controversial thing. Some people still think it's round. Some people think it's much bigger. Some people think it's concaved. And we don't know because we're not allowed to have a flying machine. That's why someone's controlling what kind of car you drive. And you're driving an extension of a Model T Ford. Now, I saw an extension of a Model T Ford when I was in Miami this week. It was a gorgeous $1 million Lamborghini. And if I got stuck in this planet and had money to burn and my staking money is making me too much money, I may indulge a little bit. Okay. I'm not going to bullshit. I am a man at the end of the day. I got some testosterone. And yes, sometimes Mel Carmine likes to go fast. So let's play this one.
Can I blow your mind right now? Okay. If the center of the earth is hot, why is the bottom of the ocean cold? Right? Let that sink in. So you're closer to the source of the earth's heat, but the water is colder. It doesn't make sense. So Chris and I were talking about this because we were flying to see our sister last summer and we're going over the ocean. And I said, make it make sense, Chris. Scientists expect us to believe that the center of the earth is 100% pure lava, which is liquid fire. You can look this up. So shouldn't the bottom of the ocean be boiling water? Well, it's not. It's cold water. So there's only one explanation for this. There's only one explanation. And that is that the center of the earth is actually frozen. And if this is a hard thing to believe, you just have to look to the evidence. And who gives us the evidence? The same scientists that try to tell us that the center of the earth is hot. Okay, so if you really want to go down this rabbit hole with me, ask yourself why 50% of scientists say that the dinosaurs were killed by the Ice Age, and the other 50% say it was because of volcanic eruptions. Well, if the center of the earth is frozen, what comes out of a volcano? I think you know where I'm going with this.
I mean, look, these are some people that are very capable of doing some extremely critical thinking, asking some very obvious questions, correct? And that's what I've done all my life, right?
Yeah. Okay, so here's something important. The bottom of the ocean is not cold, it's hot. There are thermal vents in the bottom which are teeming with life because that is where it's closer to the Earth's inner core, and heat does escape from the bottom of the ocean. So you've got a situation where it's warm on top from the sunlight, cool in the middle, and warm at the bottom. So he's not even right about that. That's just wrong.
And that might be the answer.
So the closer you are, the thinner the crust and the closer you are to the center of the Earth, the warmer it is at the bottom of the ocean. So
we went to school to learn shit, and we don't even know 1% of 1% of 1% of what is in our backyard, our own ocean.
We're exploring space, and we don't even know what's at the bottom of the ocean, because every time we go down there, we find new life forms, things that aren't supposed to exist, some of which don't even make any sense. And what the hell is an octopus? Where the hell did they come from?
The other thing, Earth. I'm going to just jump in because we're going to have to unfortunately go in a minute. But what I think is also exciting from a spiritual perspective is softening our egos and saying that none of us definitively know. But isn't it exciting that all 5 of us right here now can be creative and using our egos in the most delicious way to find the truth? And it's a journey, and it's a journey of a lifetime. And there's the freedom in that, as opposed to I sit on my pyramidic high horse with my mortarboard, which is some sort of Khazarian claptrap, and telling you how to think at Oxford or Harvard. And I control you through a program system. We call it education, and it's mind control. In the future, what we're doing is this. We're piecing it together bit by bit. Civilization blossoms as a consequence. To me, that is delightful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Elisa, you want to chime in on this flat earth thing?
Yeah. And I think the only thing I'm really positive about is that I have no clue. You know, I mean, I just don't know. You know, I could sort of, you listen to one side is like, oh, okay, that sounds like it could make sense. And you listen to the other side. And, you know, I've never been to outer space. I've never seen anything. You know, I don't believe in any of the stuff they sent us when they had the moon, you know, when we went to the moon or didn't go to the moon or whatever. I wasn't there. So I don't really know, but I agree with George that it's not what we've been taught. It's because nothing has been what nothing we've been taught we're starting to realize is true. I do believe on some level that it's a heck of a lot bigger than we've been led to believe. And who knows what else exists, you know, in terms of life forms and other things on this planet.
Yeah, and also, it's so interesting. There's stuff coming out. We don't know
I
whether
do have a bonus video. I would urge you not to leave because the first few minutes of this is mind blowing, 100%. So check this out, and we'll leave it with this, and then we can all go because this was sent to me by my good friend Razor. You know Razor, Elisa.
Yep.
Okay, here we go, and let me see here. Let me make sure.
Has there ever been a situation that you were in where you've gotten confirmation of government's involvement with human alien hybrids?
Yes.
Okay. From a credible source, you could say.
Yes.
They know about the hybrids.
Yes.
I mean, gun to your head right now, you would say absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
They were able to collect DNA from aliens.
John Ramirez, former CIA officer, 25-year career.
CIA had a program
to trace this alien DNA
in certain families, and particularly their children were of interest to CIA.
The CIA was tracking the activity of hybrids, human alien hybrids in the United States.
That and going back in their lineage.
In that 25 years.
Did you encounter anyone you knew for sure was read into one of the deeper programs?
Yes.
Did you have a lot of interactions with this person?
Yes, I did.
My name was submitted for that particular compartment.
And the Pentagon came back and said, no, we're not going to read John Ramirez into that. No way.
You specifically?
You specifically cannot be read in. He said, you don't understand, John. This program is the highest secret, top secret in the entire United States government. This top secret information exceeds that of Manhattan Project. His branch
did operations under the sea, retrieving things.
Bob, one of my engineers, was looking at one of the manuals. It's that thick. And he left that on his desk. The title was UFO Propulsion Systems, Manual of Operations.
We were flying something that wasn't a satellite.
What did it look like?
It looked like an egg. I personally had only one, I would call bad, but not demonic, experience. And that experience was with a reptilian-like being that showed up in my condo. when I lived in Washington, D.C. And the other, I can't identify.
Now I'm going to pause it there. And this is how I'm going to get all you guys to join my Telegram group, which I posted in here already a few times, and I'll post it in here one more time, because that's where my video resides. And it's not a video that I could send you a link to a YouTube or a Rumble. I have no idea. Somebody just gave it to me. As a matter of fact, Scotty gave it to me. So thank you, Scotty. And I'm going to send you guys there again. I just posted it again so you guys can go find it, watch the whole thing. It is riveting, to say the least. What do you guys think of that? I'll start with you first, George Lewis, because I know you got to go.
Ask the question again. I'm so sorry. I was on mute. See.
Yeah, I'm saying, what did you think of what you just saw? I know that you have to go, so I'm going to you first.
I've experienced hybrids firsthand, to be honest with you. I saw one at the passport office in Vienna last year, and it was a very interesting, energetic exchange between him and me. It's very quick, and I definitely had some rather nice higher oversoul helping me. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't obviously have military background. I've never been to Area 51. I'm just a human being, absolutely. And that's my strength. But I've known they've existed for years. I think it's probably one of the layers of reasons why I find Laura's work so fascinating, because even if I haven't got the expertise that she has, it resonates in my soul, so much of that conversation. It's much bigger. Our ontology, our history, it's much bigger than we've been told. And I'm the poster child for the brainwash, of course, going to a posh English boarding school.
Exactly.
Do you want me to answer?
Yes, please.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's a gray hybrid program. There's Sassani Bashar, and that's a merging of human DNA with gray ET DNA. And so there's some hybrid programs that advance humans with the intelligence of the Greys, but the Greys looking for the soul matrix to be returned because they lost that. There's that hybrid program. And I think for sure there are some more nefarious ones. And when we look at the galactic history, what happened on Rigel and Apex with the Greys, how they were engineered, also the Palladians engineered to become tall whites. Hybrid programs are very often to reverse certain things that happened when this bioengineering took place. And some of it is just to, like when you see or hear super soldiers, how they're hybrids and DNA from animals are used, like dolphins. It's just such a big piece of what's been happening behind the scenes. It's not just hybrids that are going to be released that already have been, that exist amongst us, with more coming out that have been abducting and making babies in ships, because a lot of the abduction stories are people's eggs being taken or sperm being taken. Then the baby is removed, fetus is removed and taken on the ship. And then it's taken care of in the ship with the ET parents to later be returned when the Earth is ready. And the reason this is not just a theory, and obviously listening to that guy and others who know firsthand, is Sarah Neblina's story. The extraordinary documentary called The Seeding. Extraordinary, The Seeding is what it's called. She is a lesbian. She did not have sexual encounter with a man to be pregnant. And here she is pregnant. And then all of a sudden the fetus is removed 3 months later, and she's communicating with that hybrid child. So there's so many different possibilities as far as what we're going to see, what we're going to begin to notice, and what is going to be revealed from the hybrids themselves.
Well, that's exactly how I describe myself. I'm a lesbian trapped inside a man's body, right?
But her girlfriend was like convinced that she was cheating. You know,
Right.
and she pregnancy test, like, oh yeah, you got taken up in a ship.
Oh yeah, you're some lesbian. How'd you get pregnant then? Yeah, that's always gonna cause me problems. Look,
go ahead.
It's a good.
No.
It was an alien, I swear.
Yeah, I swear it was an alien who knocked me up, and yeah, it was.
But isn't it
was a
true that on
reptilian.
some level we are hybrids? I mean, if we go back in our history, our DNA was messed with and interfered with, so that's a separate, I'm not saying based on what they're talking about now and what they're doing, but I'm just saying, I think the issue is like much bigger and much older, and there's so much more in terms of like what's going on and how this is all happening. And for those of us who know or believe that there is an alien agenda and there has been, and we're not alone and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
you know, it begs the question, like, not what really is going on now, but what always went on. You know, it's just that now, right, we're seeing things, or, you know, we have the internet and we, you know, we have this technology and stuff and interviews, but I think that's really the biggest issue, you know, like how have we been, you know, genetically altered? And
I just want to say one thing before I go on that, and that's so important, is when it comes to that kind of hybridization, it's very often to control us. Like the Illuminati have Orphan DNA and reptilian DNA. And so through trauma-based mind control, multi-generational trauma-based mind control, they're able to activate the reptilian DNA, even though the Orphan holds all 3 founder flames and is actually very advanced. So it puts the two together to give them power, but to invert that power into the reptilian energies and their dark agenda. Because the thing is, we don't need the hybridization if we think we want to advance ourselves. We need to switch on the dormant DNA that's been asleep, because we're more advanced than most of these ETs, the Cedars, the Galactic Federations. They came later. They came post-fall. They came, after the fall, later on. The pre-fall beings, the Guardians, we have those genetics. They want to keep it shut down and hybridize us with races that can that they can control, because we hold the genetics of the controllers, that we just emulate them, and we're in this addiction matrix, and we have this predator victim dynamic.
Yeah. Well, guys, it was a great show. Again, guys, yes, we normally talk about XRP and the quantum financial system, but, you know, how can you just keep regurgitating the same stuff over and over again before it becomes boring? So we'll tell you a quick little snippet of what's happening with the quantum financial system. And then we basically tell you, hey, if you need to buy some XRP right now that it's $2, you call Mel Carmine or text me at 786-704-8817. Nothing less than $10,000. And there's no maximum. If you say, Mel, I got $100 million, I want to buy, can your brokerage firms around the world do $100 million? The answer is yes. All right. I want to thank George Lewis for joining us. This is turning into the 5th cast pretty soon, I think. And we love having him. He's very intellectual and very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So anybody wants to add anything? We're going to show the documentary trailer one more time. DearMrPresident.net, DearMrPresident.net, not .com. And go and support us and spread that out there everywhere, because the words "Dear Mr. President" are now basically embedded into the algorithms, and it's not allowed to be seen. And we know that to be a fact. So there you go. Anything you want to add? Anything, Mike?
Well, just, you know, the hybrid thing, to talk to you, Elisa, look, there's something special about us. Our God tells us that in the Bible, and I believe that's true. And that's why they're here, because it's something in our DNA or our soul makeup or something. You know, I believe the purpose of existence is to find your way back to God. That's why we exist. That's why. And our path we chose was free will. The Greys chose intellect or something different, and they're dying. They're dead. They have no path to survive, so they're trying to interbreed with us. I've on different TV shows I've worked, I've interviewed many women who've had these experiences where, you know, I woke up at the foot of my bed and there were 3 Greys and a half-breed baby tucked under my arm, and I knew it was mine. I've heard that story a million times. So there's a certain sense of desperation on their part. But the thing that I want to remind everybody of is, regardless of whether they're here and regardless of what their technology is, we're superior to them. That's why they're here, trying to get something from us. And yeah, it may be true that we were cobbled together from Neanderthal and Anunnaki DNA, but the reality is there's something special about this place and this people that we are. And I just encourage everybody to fight to preserve that and not allow it to be diluted and contaminated by these other guys that we didn't invite, because we're not on their planet, you know, coring out the bung holes of their cows. They're doing it here, trying to get something from us because they don't have it.
Exactly correct.
And I think that all comes down to like what, Laura, you talk about it, I talk about it. It's all about our frequency and keeping that frequency high, because they do everything they can to keep us in these lower frequencies. And then we surrender all our power and our creativity. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what we have to take control of, that, because our consciousness and everything about us has the power to do anything and everything. We just don't know that.
Exactly. And you can reverse the hybridization. You can reverse any kind of genetic manipulation through consciousness, through soul. You can be the override frequency and actually change the DNA and restore it to its original blueprint, because these are seals and fences and implants. These are intrusions, and the source code that we hold in our DNA can correct all of this through staying in that higher vibe and knowing and remembering who we are.
Great. We're going to play the trailer of Dear Mr. President, and then we're going to leave the link down below. And when this trailer is over, the show is over, and we'll catch you guys next week at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you for sharing the link. Make sure you share it far and wide, because we are battling these bastards in ways that we can't even begin to describe. And we depend on you, the digital soldier. We truly do. And we appreciate for you guys that are actually doing the work. Thank you.
In a nation founded on liberty, the right to speak is slipping away. From the airwaves to algorithms, America's voice is being stifled by corporations, by platforms, by fear.
Censorship. It's a much bigger threat to democracy than anything that we've seen in this country in the last 4 years, in the last 40 years.
One man dared to fight back with a letter to the president.
The idea of the letter turns into a full-blown documentary.
The American people are demanding to see arrests at this point, because we have the proof beyond a shadow of a doubt. I want to see, I think I speak for the American people. I think you guys would agree. If we were to put together a really cool email, but not send the email, because that email will never get sent, but turn it into an audio and put it all over the internet and have the patriots just move it out there. Okay. I mean, like, let it spread out there like crazy until it gets to Donald Trump, and let them know the American people want to see fucking arrests. The people of the world want to see arrests. Because I'll tell you what, the people of other nations are waiting to invite in, okay, DOGE, because if you think it's only happening in the United States of America, you're making a big mistake.
His words sparked a movement among podcaster and various patriots, a call to reclaim free speech. I wrote to the president because silence isn't freedom, it's surrender. Silence No More follows one man's bold solution to confront censorship head-on and the ripple effect shaking the nation. This letter isn't just words, it's a challenge to the system. One letter, one voice, one chance to change everything.
And that is for all you latecomers that just got here maybe 20, 30 minutes ago. You probably missed the first one, so we played it again for you guys specifically.
Hey,
okay.
Yeah.
So if anybody else has anything else to add, Laura?
Oh, I'd love to share George, his painting. Maybe we do that next time?
Yeah, no, we could do it now. Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's end with
All right,
that.
great. So I will try, I downloaded it. So
hit present.
Yeah.
And then you have to find it.
Yeah. So
screen share. Present, screen share.
Okay, I gotta get it up here. Shoot.
Take your time.
I wonder if it would help to just do image file, and then I just find the download.
Maybe.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm going to put the Dear Mr. President link here so you patriots can get it out there for us as quickly as humanly possible. And if there's any volunteers also, you could text us at 786-704 8817. Anybody that knows somebody who owns a movie theater, or you can have house parties, invite your neighbors. Let's get this out there. You're going to be able to go to the website itself and download a high resolution copy in probably, I would say, the next few weeks. We're thinking about maybe second week of August. You're able to download a high resolution copy and watch it in your house, spread it around, do whatever you want to do with it. It doesn't matter. And then we're going to release it, on the internet. But we're probably going to give it maybe a week or so that it can be shown in some movie theaters in case we land some. And that, if not, no problem. We'll just release it on the internet and let it do its thing. And again, we depend on you, the digital soldiers, to get it out there.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
All right. So everybody, George H. Lewis, who joined us today, who's an epic astrologer and artist and so many other things. He just picked up a guitar 6 weeks ago and he's singing Country Road by John Denver. No problem. And look at the painting he did. Oil of Donald Trump pointing to his own chart, Mars on the ascendant, and that famous image. Anyway, thanks guys so much.
If somebody wants to buy that, are they for sale?
I don't know. He just left the room, but I'll find out.
Elvis has left the room. Okay, no problem. We'll do it next time.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.